All right, we're on.
We are.
Welcome, everyone.
Hello, yes. Hello, everybody. Mark, Maurice, and I are very happy to have you all joining. I'm just going to keep an eye on the numbers as everybody starts to roll in. So today, we would like to share with you some of the magic that we all create at these amazing retreats. And the Bali retreat coming up this October is definitely going to be filled with magic. So Maurice is just sharing the screen. Wonderful. Look at that. How magical does that look? This picture was, of course, taken when Maurice and I were fortunate enough to be in Bali at the beginning of last year. And that's some of the group there and the beautiful people that made this journey so fantastic. So October 25th to November 1st are the dates for next year. And I'd probably like to start before I welcome Maurice and Mark to share about what they're going to be presenting, just to tell you a little bit, give you an opportunity to really feel the experience. Because those of you, I'm very fortunate to be able to speak at this retreat with two incredible men and who I know what they're going to be doing, and it's going to be absolutely fantastic. But as the retreat organizer, I suppose that I am, those of you that know me, I hope know how incredibly important retreats are to me in the experience that you leave with. So apart from having absolutely unbelievably incredible opportunity to learn, to grow, to, elevate our consciousness just a little bit more, we also have the opportunity to come together. And of course, Zoom is a wonderful thing where we come together, but when we actually come together in a way where we learn from each other's stories, share our own stories, it becomes part of the magic of the teaching and the connection of being with your tribe. And I guess as a sun and moon in the 11th house person, being with your tribe and connecting with our community is a big part of, I suppose, my soul's mission. So it really is a wonderful experience. So let me just run through a little bit so that you can close your eyes and just imagine what you're going to experience, which is, of course, arriving at the beautiful Santrian Gria Hotel, which is situated right on the beach in Bali, in the centre of town, although you wouldn't know that because it's surrounded by beautiful trees and flowers and lovely people. And the first day we'll have a little bit of an intro in the afternoon where we'll just Maurice and I will welcome you. And then we get the opportunity to have some lovely welcome drinks and get to say hi to everybody that's going to be there. And then the next day, the presentations will kick off and Maurice will be kicking off the first day. But throughout the week, we also do some really beautiful things. Now, for example, we're going to have an astrological trivia night. Now, these are a lot of fun. I have run them over the years and we get together in teams and answer astrological questions and have a lot of fun whilst we're doing it. So we're going to have a trivia night. We're going to have a beautiful social night, which is filled with music and dancing, and it's a banquet which is set up. When I turned up at the last one, I thought I'd turned up in the wrong place in the hotel and that somebody was getting married. It was so gorgeous, and I'm like, oh, this is ours. Like they really spoil us. So we have a beautiful banquet night, which is important to relax through the week as well and move our bodies because we're sitting absorbing all that information in the conference room. So it's good exercise. We're also going to have a half day where you get an opportunity. It's not it's not mandatory, but most people love to do it. We go off and have an adventure. So last time we went up to the Holy Baths and had a bit of a blessing there. This time we're going to a beautiful place called Gillies Island. It's across from Sanua, where we get to meet the locals, experience Bali in a bit of a different way. It's not quite. It's a lot more like it used to be. Maybe Gillies Island, look very natural. We can do snorkeling. We're going to have lunch over there, and that's going to be a really lovely day to just regroup and centre. And we're also going to have a very special closing. We did do this last time, and I think we're going to do it again, where we'll have a closing ceremony, and then we'll all go. That I'm still just working on, but we'll all then go to the temple and take our offerings. And it's a really beautiful experience, but it's also a really lovely completion to all the work that we'll do through the week. Lastly, just in relation to the day-to-day program, Maurice is absolutely fantastic at his practice of yoga, and he offers that to everyone in the mornings. And that is going to be part for, again, if you not want to get up super early, you don't have to, but for those that would love to join, it's a well worthwhile experience. And I am also going to schedule some group meditations. So I'm probably going to keep them a little bit in theme of what we're teaching through the week, but we're going to have an opportunity to come together and do some meditations. So a lot of rich opportunity to not only do the mercurial thing and absorb all that wonderful learning, but really be able to digest it in an environment of not just go, sit, but really integrate and come together and support each other in the growth that we experience from being together. So I may have missed a couple of things, but hopefully that gives you a lovely feeling for the beauty that we'll all be experiencing when we come
Sounds
together
amazing.
at the end of October.
It sounds incredible.
Does it
And
I
so-
sound?
can't wait.
Yeah.
I personally can't wait because it's going to be my first time, not to Bali, but my first time presenting in Bali. So it's going to be a wonderful experience for me personally. Yeah.
Oh,
And
that's
these are-
great, Mark. And
These are
I remembered something too, Maurice. Sorry, Maurice. I remembered something. The complimentary foot spa, foot massage. As Maurice pointed out last time, in keeping with the North Node in Pisces, and I just noticed Rhonda put a little message up in the chat group saying how wonderful last year was. So thank you, Rhonda, and it was wonderful. So sorry, Mark and Maurice, carry on.
Just want to make everyone aware that these are Australian dollars for those who are not from Australia. And so the retreat is really affordable, for all that we're getting, because Bali, has more affordable infrastructure. We're able to really provide a lot for the accommodation and the meals and the pool and the beach and the program. And of course, we're going to give back to Bali. We, as we did last time, we contributed to local organization, orphanages, schools. So we want this to not just, come and take and be entitled, but also support local spirit.
Yes, absolutely. And you just reminded me of something, Maurice, that I do want to add. And thank you, Rhonda. She made another comment as to how beautiful the retreat is. And then with what Maurice just said, I forgot a pretty important part, or at least an important part for me. First of all, the hotel rooms. They're spacious. They're really comfortable. I like a nice pillow, and I'm a very earthy person, even though I'm a Sagittarian. So comfort is very important to me. So the rooms are great. But the other very earthy, important thing to me is food. And again, anyone that knows me, I'm a big foodie. And so the food last year, we handed out Weight Watchers to everybody at the end, just about, because we ate so much food. But it was beautiful, authentic Indonesian food, and any dietary requirements always catered for. So in the package, you get breakfast, morning tea, a 3-course, beautifully prepared lunch, afternoon tea, all every day. And then it's only your meals at night that you need to cater for. And there's heaps of restaurants right just on foot a few minutes away. But then we'll also have the social night and the opening night, which is included, where you'll have a massive dinner that night. So pretty well most of your meals included, beautiful rooms. And as Maurice just said, we're 3 swimming pools, a great big one, a medium-sized one, and a smaller one, and they're throughout the whole hotel. So I did mean to just add, when we go away, we put a lot of energy into going away. We pay for something, you know, we work hard, we put our money into it. So I think it's important that you get to refresh yourself and revitalize yourself as well by being able to, at the end of the day, go and hop in the pool or have a massage on the beach or something like that. So yeah, I just wanted to add that.
And
Thanks,
people
Maurice.
can bring their partners too, is that right? And their partner gets
Absolutely. They
the
can.
room and breakfast, is that right?
Yes, we did have that as a special, but we can still sort of reinvent something. If someone wants to bring their partner, we'll look after it. So please. Oh, Rhonda, you're so wonderful. 10 Australian dollars for the massage on the beach. Yes, that is exactly what it was. And we were all queuing up every afternoon to go and have those amazing massages. The girls are beautiful. Actually, I've got one of them on Facebook, and she's very much looking forward to seeing us coming back. So, yes.
Let's get
and
started.
Sorry, yes, Mark. So, pardon?
Because let's get started, because I think people
Let's get started. People are on a time limit.
Yeah, it will be.
Thanks, Liz.
People are saying it sounds like a lovely, uplifting experience. It definitely will be. And I'm going to be doing 2 talks. So I'm going to a half-day talk on the lunar nodes in synastry, which is pretty eye-opening when you get to know planets landing on your nodes and vice versa from people who are close to you. And I'm going to spend a whole day on the asteroids. The 4 major asteroids in our charts, in your chart. I'm going to go down the road of understanding them personally, but also how to deliver the information around them for clients and for people who are close to you. Because they are a celebration of the divine feminine in all of us, men just as much as women. And they're all really distinct personalities. They're very, very different. And they teach us very, very different things about ourselves and about life. And they're all really, really powerful, really powerful. So when you start adding the asteroids into a chart, it really does fill out the chart in a new way. You know, it really adds more detail into the chart that you didn't realize were actually there in the first place. Okay. So I'm going to just share my screen. And I'm just going to... The asteroid I just want to talk about, because we have got a short period of time. The asteroid I want to talk about, just as a teaser, so to speak, is this one. It's Ceres, okay? Now, I know she's been promoted. I know she's a dwarf planet now, as far as astronomers are concerned, but she's always an asteroid to me. She really, really is. And she's a really, really super powerful asteroid. And I want to actually say to put her in all your charts from now on. Okay, there she is. She was the agricultural goddess. She was the grower of the crop and the grain. And everybody loved her because she kept them fed. That's how important she was. And there she is there, you know, holding sheaths of wheat. She's also got a cornucopia. There's a statue of her with a cornucopia, and cornucopias were a symbol of abundance and plenty. Okay, but I want to say that abundance and plenty associated with Ceres was when she was happy. When she wasn't happy, you know, that cornucopia didn't look as full, and that's what we have to really understand and really talk about. Okay, so everybody knows this story. You know, very few people don't know about the abduction of Persephone by Hades, by Pluto, and taken down into the underworld. Now, Demeter is the Greek version of Ceres, and Demeter was the mother of Persephone. And of course, when Persephone got kidnapped and taken down into the underworld by Pluto, Demeter, Ceres, lost her. She completely went into extreme trauma, as any mother would, you know, who has their child abducted. And she was in such pain and in such agony and in such trauma over losing her loved daughter, her beloved daughter, that she couldn't grow anything anymore. You know, the incredible, it's like her whole heart, her whole soul was ripped out of her. And all of a sudden, there was nothing. There was nothing growing. Nobody could eat anymore. And so everybody had to kind of work out a way of bringing Persephone back again so that so Demeter, Ceres, was going to be happy enough to start growing so everybody could eat again. So just that myth, there's a lot more to the myth, of course, but just that myth alone is giving you an idea of love and that feeling of having that love in our life is very much equating to our livelihood, to our survival. So when we talk about love with Ceres, we're going to be talking about it on the level of something that sustains us, something that keeps us alive. So it really does, in the end, become as important as food, okay? So it is, when I teach it in my class, I just say, just put Moon Pluto together. Just put a Moon Pluto conjunction together where Ceres is, and you're going to get a really good idea of how she plays out, how she works. Because she is the moon on steroids. She's the moon that's really taken right up to the extreme. And she is very, very important because she has a lot to do with this. It's the mother-child dynamic, the mother-child complex, and it's very much about how you got loved as a child or how you didn't. And what's going to happen between you and mum, you know, in all different ways, for all different reasons, will play out in your series in some way. Now, it's going to play out in other areas apart from mum as well. You're going to be going through areas of lack of love or lack of security or lack of sustenance in other areas of your chart as well. But I do want to say that mother will definitely kind of be in the, you know, in the background of the storyline for sure. For sure. It'll play out that way. Okay. Here we go. So before I launch into this, and I'm going to go through it very quickly. You know, you could spend a whole class on this chart, but I'm going to have to go through it very quickly because of the time factor. I don't know how many of you know this wonderful, wonderful lady. Her name's Karen Carpenter. The older groups, older people who are watching will know her very well. Younger people might have to Google her. She was very, very popular in the 1970s. She and her brother had a soft rock group band called the Carpenters, and they were huge, absolutely huge. They were at the top of the charts for a good 10 years, all the way through the 70s. And this lady had the voice of an angel. She's got one of the most beautiful voices you've ever heard in your life. And as I said, if you don't know of her, Google her and listen to her on YouTube. She is just sensational. Anyway, the sad part about Karen Carpenter is that she died a month before she turned 33 from complications from anorexia nervosa. Anorexia nervosa back in the early 80s when she died wasn't one of those things that was talked about all that much. But she stopped eating. She basically stopped eating to the point where, you know, she died. She went down right to hardly any weight whatsoever. And she actually died of a heart attack as she was trying to recover. but she was taking a lot of really dangerous elimination kind of medication as she was trying to get better. You know, she was still cheating, so to speak. Now, before I start, I've got to preface this by saying that this has no judgment on the way Karen played it out. There's no judgment put on this wonderful lady whatsoever with how she played out her story, okay? So this is just an astrological exercise to understand how it can get played out in a person's life, okay? I want to actually start by saying that Karen's mother did not like her. Karen's mother preferred her brother, Richard. Richard was the star as far as Karen's mother was concerned, and they moved from the New England area of America over to California for Richard's career. They were going to boost Richard's career, and Karen just followed along. And Karen was a drummer, and she was in the background, and that she was very, very happy to be there until they discovered this girl could sing. And she could really, really sing, not just, oh, she's got a pretty voice. She had this voice that nobody else has. And so Karen was put to the front. Karen became the star. And of course, she drove the Carpenters. It was because of her the Carpenters became famous. Her mother did not like this. Her mother did not like the fact that Karen became the star over Richard. And so she was pretty horrible to Karen. She was pretty awful to Karen. She resented Karen and made life difficult for Karen, okay? So here we have the mother dynamic that I was talking about, a mother that's really not liking her daughter. And her mother was a Pisces as well, but she had a Scorpio moon. And again, I don't want to pick on Scorpio moons because I love a lot of people with Scorpio moons. But there is that love-hate thing that goes on with Scorpio, you know, with the Scorpio moon. I've got to love something completely or I don't like something completely. You know, it's very, very extreme. And unfortunately, Karen was on the I don't like something completely end. Here is her Ceres. Everyone see her Ceres? It's like the sickle. That's the glyph is the sickle. It's in Sagittarius. And it's with Chiron in the 6th house, okay? So here already, the 6th house has a lot to do with service, and it has a lot to do with us, our work and our routine and getting life in order. But it's also everything to do with perfection. It's everything to do with, I've got to streamline myself. I've got to purify myself. I've got to be perfect. I've got to be perfect for mother. There's Ceres. I've got to be perfect for her. Something's wrong with me. Something's wrong with me. She's picking at me. She's seeing the cracks. She's seeing things that aren't working. And I've got to do something about it. I've got to perfect myself. That's a 6th house thing to do. But perfecting yourself in a positive way is like a self-developmental masterclass for yourself, you know, moving forward positively. But perfecting yourself in a not so positive way is basically ripping yourself apart. It's pointing out everything that's wrong with you and then doing what you have to do on that level. So Karen thought, am I chubby? You know, am I not looking good? Is there something about the way, you know, that I'm performing, or there's something in the way that I look while I'm performing that doesn't please her? And so again, she stops eating, which is a very 6th housey thing to do as well, because the 6th house is very conscious of the body and how the body works and the health and good health. And when you're not looking after yourself, not so good health. So it's a whole 6th house thing that's going on there with her Ceres. I'll tell you how you can do this better, you know, in a more positive way as I get into this a little bit more. Now, they're in Sagittarius. Sagittarius is a wonderful sign of inspiration and travel and, you know, broadening your wisdom. But when it gets caught up, it's going to go down the road of laws and judgment. It's going to go down the road of good way of doing it, bad way of doing it. It's going to go down a sort of self-righteous road. And Karen's parents were religious, very, very religious. And so this is a Sagittarian thing that comes into this too. So not only is she feeling I've got to perfect myself because there's something wrong with me, Mum's seeing everything wrong with me, I'm also feeling judged. I'm also feeling like I'm not a good person. in the eyes of my mother. My mother judges me. My mother thinks I'm wrong or bad or whatever. And there's another story to this, which I will go into in Bali. In Bali, we'll just pull this up very, very quickly, because in Bali, I really want to work on your charts. I really want to go down that road of looking at your charts in Bali. I'll draw another couple of other celebrities as well, but mainly Bali will be you guys. Okay. So here we go with this whole idea of being judged, having to perfect, and there's Chiron involved as well. So Chiron is always going to be on the back foot as well. It's always going to feel the wounding energy of something too. And so it's adding a little tiny bit more spice to everything that I've just said. Okay. So how does she cope? How does she actually think I've got to improve myself. I've got to do better. I've got to have mum on my side in some kind of way. But at the same time, punishing herself. At the same time, punishing herself and believing in what mum thinks about her. And so she stops eating. And she goes and becomes sick. It's gone into it's gone beyond trying to keep slim. It's gone into another area. It's gone into a very, very scary area, a deadly area. Now, as you can see, there's a lot of stuff going on here, isn't there? With our Pluto moon opposite Jupiter, Mercury, which adds a little bit to what I've just said, but it is actually squaring Saturn. Can everyone see that? Ceres is squaring Saturn in the 4th house. So Saturn in the 4th house people generally have to look after themselves emotionally from a very early age. They have to be their own emotional support. From a very early age, you have to learn that. And it's usually tough. It's usually tough for them, because if you're learning to look after yourself and be your own rock, be your own emotional rock, you're not going to get it at home. You're not. You're going to have a home life that was kind of restrictive or challenging, difficult. It's going to be cold to a certain degree. There's going to be a lack of emotional connection between people. It might be old-fashioned. It might be traditional. It might be limiting. And so, again, there's no room for heart. There's no room for love. There's no room for a soft place to fall or a nice cuddle. It's kind of like, no, I've got to look after myself. I've got nobody to turn to here. And so Karen had to, in her own way, be her own emotional support from the word go. And that could have strengthened over years with her mother as well. And you can actually be beaten down by this, or you can actually rise to the occasion. You can rise to the occasion and take authority back. Take authority back, take mastery back around the nurturing and the mothering that you need, and do it yourself. But unfortunately, in Karen's situation, she still must have felt very much her mother taking authority, or her parents or her family taking authority over her and not allowing her like the space to be her own person, basically. Now, in opposition and squaring as well, we have her Pisces sun. We have Vesta there as well, okay? So the Pisces, her Pisces sun out there in the 10th house is very much who she was in the world. As I said, she has a voice that takes you to heaven, really and truly. It's the most beautiful voice. And Pisces, that feeling of that Pisces energy that takes you out to another world. And this is who she was out there in the world. This is how she was known publicly. And again, there's a need out there in the world for Karen to be loved. She's expressing herself. It's very creative, but there is a strong need for her to be loved. And the 10th house is also the mother house. If you're looking at parents in houses, the 10th is mom and the 4th is dad. Occasionally it flip-flops, but, you'll find it, it will do the swapsy, but it's generally up the top of the chart. And so again, this idea of looking good, not only out there in the world, but also looking good in mom's eyes. Now, Ceres is there, not Ceres, sorry, Vesta is there as well. Vesta is a dedicated asteroid. You know, she's really kind of focused. She's got her eye on the prize. And the Vestal Virgins, their only job was to keep the fire going in the middle of the community, in the middle of the town, to keep everybody warm. And if they let that fire go out, they paid. They paid with their lives, okay? And so this is feeling with Vesta of dedicating yourself wholly and solely to something. It's usually like a cause or a vision or project or something that's beyond you. But there's this feeling here with what I'm seeing here with that square back to Ceres again. It's that feeling of the dedication or the myopic kind of focus on keeping mum happy. Keeping mum happy. You know, it's going back to the series again. And with her son as well, it's that feeling of I've got to work hard at this, you know, I've got to keep going at this. You know, I'm not going to let it up. I'm not going to let up. It's not something that she could just shrug off, unfortunately. Some of us could actually go, she doesn't like me very much. Let's move on. You know, some of us could do that, but unfortunately, she couldn't. She couldn't. Was just far, far too painful for her. So, can you see how Ceres acted out so literally for Karen? Literally, because food was the thing that she took her out on herself, was food. And Ceres was the agricultural goddess. She was the goddess that fed everybody. And when she was distraught, nobody ate. It's just amazing, isn't it? It's just incredible when you see it like that. When you actually see it was played out literally in this beautiful lady's life. Of course, it's not always going to play out with food in our lives, but I want to go down the road of that food, kind of just the whole kind of image of food and the need we have for food is so, so strong with Ceres wherever it is in our charts. Now, Karen could have turned this around, and as I said, there is no judgment on her around the way she played it because everyone's going to play it the way they play it. But when I see that, Ceres is a wonderful, wonderful teacher here, you know, in Sagittarius, in the sixth house with Chiron. She could have actually gone through what she went through. She could have pulled herself out the other side, and she could have been a wonderful teacher on the level of possibly women or girls who are going through stuff where they don't think they're good enough, where they feel that they have to be better than who they are, where they've probably gone down some pretty dangerous roads, you know, in their attempt to try to find what that is. And she could have been a wonderful teacher, healer with that Chiron there. Sagittarius is a teaching area, the inspiring area. The sixth house is very how-to. The sixth house is I'll show you how to put it together. You know, that's the sixth house. The sixth house is the tools you need. The sixth house is how you become skilled at something. So good tutors and good mentors and master apprentice kind of personalities and people who show you the ropes are sixth house teachers. So again, I'm not saying she's wrong for not doing that, but that was a possibility for her. She could have actually used her fourth house Saturn in a way that would have been a wonderful concrete foundation, emotional foundation for her to use to actually turn anything emotional into strength for her and teach people that as well. And the sun is always going to be a glorification of who you are out there in the world and show yourself off and be happy with who you are and be able to, in your own way, truly, truly celebrate the person that you are. And Sarah and Vesta up there could actually make that a mission. It could actually make a mission, not just to be a popular personality out there in the world as a singer, but to make it a mission on the level of really recognizing how special you are and then being able to shine that specialness out there in the world to make other people feel really good. To make other people, it's like the sunshine itself, to make other people feel, you know, happy and alive in the rays that you're ready to put out there. You know, that's really, really important. So that was all the stuff that is basically around her chart in a very, very quick way, but there's much more to that, of course. It's much deeper than that as well. So I'm going to pass the baton on to Maurice now.
And thank you, Mark, but I love Karen Carpenter
I adore Karen Carpenter.
and I love the asteroids. And actually, I'm going to share something. When we all got together and were like, okay, what are we going to talk about? I thought to myself, I'm going to talk about the asteroids. And Mark got in before me. And I'm like, damn it.
Being an Aries.
So anyway, yes, they're like, they're like all the beautiful colored threads in a tapestry that they bring it to life, and they're just so powerful.
They're
And
so incredible.
it's such an incredible chart to show exactly how the high road and the low road, and it's not about being wrong or right, but just simply about what we're able to fulfill in this contract. So that was beautiful, Mark. Thank you.
I'm looking forward to getting them all and having the whole day. We've got the whole day on them and being able to look in people's charts that are going to be coming to Bali. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. And before Maurice jumps in, can I just a couple of comments on how long are we going to run for this morning, Maurice? What are we going to do? I know we're up to 10:35 here.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to go for about 20 minutes.
Okay, so Maurice is going to go for about 20 minutes and I'll keep it very short and sweet. So let's say, just a little over half an hour and we'll be wrapped up, if that helps everyone. Thanks, Maurice.
Right. And to Mark's topic, it's interesting that in October, that's the chart for October 25, when we get to Bali, see how all the asteroids are aligned. Juno at 6 Sagittarius, Trine Ceres at 5 Aries, and Pallas is right in the middle in this kind of grand sextile formation in actually masculine signs. Vesta is also there, close to Juno. It's not tight, but you really see how there's an invitation to let's, unpack these powerful goddesses. So that's exciting for a synchronistic reason, really.
That's great. I love that. I love the idea that they're all very happy together, very supportive. Yeah.
Yeah. And, you speak about starvation and, this whole year, 2025, the theme of starvation has been in the news with what's going on in Sudan, what's going on in Gaza, and a lot of back and forth about, very tragic circumstances that usually, we think of ourselves as a civilization to be spared of starvation. But Ceres was in Aries and Pisces this whole year, back and forth on the Saturn-Neptune. And so Saturn-Neptune has to do with breakdowns and extreme fragility. So Ceres kind of, unpacked and revealed some of these difficult experiences for those who are, directly affected. But then, that's also, like you say, after the period of starvation, she comes back to life. She returns, the crops return, and she feeds the world again. So I'm, touching on that. I'm going to I would like to address here the grand water trine that we are navigating into. Jupiter is already in Cancer. And that will be the focus of my of my offering in Bali, is to go through, through Jupiter in a deeper way. We all know about the benevolent and Santa Claus expectations that Jupiter, gives us gifts and is all good. But I'm a Scorpio, so I also bring the shadow. And part of what we're going to explore is what I call Jupiter truth and dare. And this is going to be an experience into all Jupiter signs. So we're going to go through the 12 signs and understand not only the superficial cookbook stuff, but how Jupiter is actually, has everything to do with our conditioning, has everything to do with law and order, and has everything to do with both opportunity and tyranny. If you look at the chart of tyrants, they're all Jupiter emphasis. So Jupiter is much more complex. And as an evolutionary astrologer, we're all three here evolutionary astrologers. We all want to know, what is the intention? What's the evolutionary intention? And so Jupiter is going to form a trine to the Saturn-Neptune that retrograde into Aries. Now, this is critical because back in June, when Jupiter just got into Cancer, 0 Cancer, it was square Neptune, Saturn at 0 Aries. And Mark, I'm going to have to ask you many questions because you're a 0 Aries sun.
So I'm a 3 Aries sun.
Oh, 3. Okay.
Yeah.
Close enough.
I'm feeling it already, Maurice. I truly am.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because
it's an interesting feeling.
You'll need to share stories.
I will. I definitely will.
However, if we track synodic cycles and planetary pairs, and in this case, planetary triangles, Jupiter in June was squaring those, in at 0 cardinal degree, which is critical. And what happened was, among other things, was the war with Iran that involved the United States, Israel, and Iran. It was a short conflict, at least from a military point of view. The tension's still there. There's no peace agreement of any kind, but this was kind of a change in geopolitical dynamics. But it was also a change in our lives because many people were in transition during those spring into early summer north, June to now, to August. So as we move into September and October, they will now, Jupiter is still in Cancer, but they're now shifting to the trine. And so there's something that we need to keep watching, because this dance between Jupiter, Saturn is ongoing. When did it start? You go back to the original conjunction, which was late December 2020, 0 degrees Aquarius. You had Jupiter, Saturn. So Jupiter moves faster, and then was sextile Saturn, then was square Saturn, and now it's trining Saturn. Interestingly, also Trump and Kamala Harris both have a Saturn-Jupiter square. And during the election in the United States, there was in the sky a Jupiter-Saturn square. So that's how astrology works, is that these aspects bring to the forefront the public figures, the themes that have, that resonate with that theme. And obviously Saturn, Jupiter has to do with leadership, has to do with structures, has to do with career development, and also ethics, truth versus distortion of truth. Now, not only are they going to trine, but these personal planets, which are fast moving, Mars, then Mercury and Moon, are also in water. And mind you, the Moon, is soon out of there. So this starts October 23. The Grand Trine is forming. And I chose this time because the Moon was there as well, even though Mars and Mercury were already within orb even a few days prior. And then this trine stays on until the Moon pretty much gets to Pisces and meets the Saturn-Neptune, and that's November 3rd, and completes this kind of trines from Scorpio to Pisces. Then, Mercury moves into the next sign, Mars moves into the next sign, and we remain with just, the Jupiter-Saturn-Neptune trine, not the grand trine. Okay, so it's going to be one aspect instead of three. Now, something that's extremely important is not only the echo of the Saturn-Jupiter getting to their first trine, but the ruler of the nodes are in Virgo, Pisces, and the rulers are Mercury, which rules Virgo, and Neptune, which rules Pisces, and Jupiter, that is co-ruling Pisces. So all the rulers of the nodes are in this configuration. And that basically brings greater depth and activation to the nodal patterns. So, right. So, what is this all about, right? First of all, understand that when you want to understand an aspect, you always have to go back to the original conjunction. So when was the original conjunction of Jupiter-Neptune? It was in Pisces in 2022. And when was the original conjunction of Jupiter-Saturn? Was in Aquarius in 2020. So there's something that's being seeded at the conjunction, and then it continues to grow as Jupiter moves fast, and like the fast hand of a clock, now shifts from conjunction to square to the trine. Okay? So I won't be able to get into all the specificities of each planet, but I'm going to give you a brief understanding of how the trine works. And obviously, if we speak of Bali, an island surrounded by water, where we create our own cocoon of workshop Jupiter and study, that is very kind of inviting and auspicious for this kind of activity. We're like in a womb. And so what are the keywords for water? Emotional integration. Now, keep in mind, we often make a mistake that water signs, represent emotions. And if you don't have water, then you don't have emotions, or that you are really suppressed with your emotion. But that's not so true, because fire also is emotional. It's also expressive of emotions. So both water and fire represent emotions in a different way. But it's the difference is that fire is emotional expression, whereas water is emotional integration. What does that mean? Think about going through something, going through a change. You have to move out of your apartment, and you don't have time to integrate the change. Everything's happening too fast. What is the feeling? Water. You are overwhelmed. So the feeling of being overwhelmed represent our circumstances that do not allow us to integrate. And so we're kind of trying to swim in strong water currents. But when we give ourselves the time, when we give ourselves the breath, then water represents growth, and it represents development. Just like a baby, becoming a toddler, becoming a young child, it's developing. But there's always vulnerability in water. This is where we get in touch with our vulnerability. And that's often, if you don't have water, that's often one of the things you'll experience, is that people without water have difficulty being vulnerable. So they always have to be strong. They always have to show that they're in charge. They are always under pressure to perform. So water allows you to sleep, to take a step back, to process. When you sleep, you're very vulnerable. You don't have your defenses. You're unconscious pretty much, right? So it's a very vulnerable state. And so when you're vulnerable, you rely on trust. And that is a key factor here with water. Water always represents the need to build trust, the need to create safety. Each water sign in a different way. And so you can express your needs, your emotional needs, and how to have your needs met is to have a support system, whether it's a family, whether it's a community, whether it's, some kind of support, some kind of maybe governmental support, community support, church and religious support. It can come from anywhere. So the water is definitely a more feminine energy, and feminine has to do with womb and has to do with process, as opposed to direct, which is more male, which is more sharp. So circular, process, versus direct, sharp. So if we look at the water houses, The Cancer represent our personal womb, the womb of our mother, the womb of our home, the womb of our family. It's creating that sense of safety in a very nuclear family personal way. And so what happens is in the fourth house in Cancer is that you trust your family, you trust your parents. Hopefully they are trustworthy. Hopefully they care for you. But then everything outside the family is not as safe. You don't, Cancers don't trust strangers easily. You take a Cancer to a party, they're usually very shy and won't open up because they don't feel immediately safe. They need to warm up. And that's why Cancers will tend to be the host rather than the guest. Because when you're the host, you are in your domain, you are in your own territory, and you feel safer. Scorpio has to do with the intimacy that you form with another person, lovers, a couple, or business partnership. So you step out of the Cancer family and you meet other people. You start to date. And that's why there's an emotional risk with Scorpio, because you're not really sure who you can trust or not. But you need another, you are yearning for a relationship. You need the resources, the emotional support of another. So you have to take the emotional risk through Scorpio. But that's why Scorpio are so powerful and extremely vulnerable at the same time. Because on the one hand, they want to grow. And on the other hand, they need to take that emotional risk and could be betrayed, could be taken advantage of, could be deceived. And Scorpios have all these scars and these grudges because people hurt them at some point or another. And then there are selected few who have earned their trust. And so there's always that, that question about who can I be safe with? Whether it's business or whether it's romantic. And then Pisces represents the trust on a more existential, on a more collective level. Pisces are about the womb of the universe, the cosmic womb. So it's not my womb, it's the whole womb of life. And so Pisces relies on whether they can trust not a person, not a parent, but can I trust life? Can I trust the sky? Can I trust fate? It's more existential, it's more spiritual. And that's why, Pisces tends to be more religious, more spiritual, because they need to find a sense of trust in the world. So they will kneel down and pray to the invisible deity, spirit, God. That's where they place their trust in. And if you are in a temple or a church or a whatever spiritual place, you trust all of those who are with you, whether you know them personally or not. So the trust of Pisces is not personal. It's not specific to a person. It's more of a global feeling of trust. So because all the water signs represents that vulnerability and that need to trust, they also represent the wounds when that trust is broken. So for Cancer, it's when the family dynamics, are not safe and there's abuse in the family, and that affects my development. With Scorpio, the trust is in a relationship. So do I feel betrayed? Did my partner have an affair? Did they run away with the money? All these trust issues are one to another. But Pisces is the most global trust or the most complete breakdown. Because if you lose trust in God, if you lose trust in life, then you feel like you're lost in this universe. You feel like God is against you, or that everyone is out to get you. You become paranoid. And that's why, there's a risk in the 12th house of really severe breakdowns if you lose that trust with Pisces. So you will see Pisces in those two extremes. You'll see Pisces who are loving everybody and everything's great and unconditional love, and they get along with everybody at the party. It's all cool, it's all good, it's all flowing, it's the water flowing easily. But the moment they get wounded, they have no defense. They become victims. And that becomes a whole other flip side. So when we look at the chart of the water trine, it is about restoring safety. It's about restoring trust. Now, again, looking at global events, and especially, this year, because this is the year in the United States where Trump came into power and changed a lot of the socio-political, as well as global political dynamics. And Saturn and Neptune were also earlier on in January, February, they were also in Pisces. And what we saw was a breakdown of trust. When people felt in the United States that they're going to lose their Social Security, that people do not feel safe at home because they could be deported, or a feeling, the dismantling of humanitarian organizations that led to people not receiving support from USAID. And so there's some kind of breakdown of trust. And, Trump promises that you suffer now, but it's going to get better later. Maybe he's right, and maybe that could happen. But in the meantime, there was this tremendous feeling of what's going on, the tariffs, what's going on? We don't know. We're out in the middle of the ocean. We're not sure of anything. Another thing from a water point of view is that sense that you need to feel safe in order to be able to bring the best out of yourself. So we can hope that as this trine is forming and as the rulers of the nodes are coming together, that there is going to be a sense of support, at least. That even if there's no certainty and there's no fixed goal and we don't know yet what's coming up, we can hope that there's going to be the restoration of a feeling of safety and a feeling that we do have a support system, and that, yeah, that some things are gonna clear out. So that's the hope. That's the positive outcome. We know trines are not always guaranteeing, resolution. It could be the middle of the process, but pay attention whether you are with us in Bali, in our womb on the island, or whether you are at home or somewhere else. Pay attention to the sense of safety and the sense of trust, and pay attention to whoever you can help, or people who can help you. That mutual compassion and ability to really bring the best of each other, because what makes us compassionate, what makes us able to identify with those who suffer, whether they are in the Middle East, or they are Latinos, or they are in Sudan, in a terrible crisis, is that we can accept vulnerability. We can find vulnerability in ourselves, and we can identify with people who are vulnerable. So, I hope this gives you a glimpse into that. And what is really critical is that as we are in this huge watery focus, after that, everything shifts out of water. Saturn, Neptune into fire, Aries. Jupiter moves into Leo, fire. And then Mars obviously is going to already be in Sag. But this period of strong water grand trine is fleeting, as most of the planets are moving into fire and air. And we're going to be for 2 years, 26, 2027, we're going to be in masculine signs. So, it only takes a leap of faith and trust to join us.
Love
Good picture.
that.
That was taken when we were all there last time. They've got these great angel wings out on the beach. So very good, Maurice. And that was, as always, there is just no time to sleep with all of this richness that we have to absorb and digest every day. I'm very mindful. Oh, first of all, just in a couple of the comments I have answered, but for anybody that's wanting, I put the email and the website in the chat group, but I'll just say it here for the purpose of the recording. www.aquariusrising.net.au, and the email info@aquariusrising.net.au. So you can get in touch for more information. I am just going to share, I'm mindful of the time, and I haven't had the opportunity to prepare. I've actually been sick, and so I've had a few things to get back to being here today. So I haven't got a lot of preparation, but I do want to share with you what it is that I'm going to be, what I'm going to be talking about.
Do you need the PowerPoint?
Look, I've got a couple of little pictures, but I can put them up. Oh yeah, okay. I can share them. Okay. I mean, that's probably a nicer picture, but that's okay. So just give me a moment. And for those of you that probably or possibly need to be leaving soon, I will just make this very simple and to the point, just to share. So, the two topics that I have now chosen, as I couldn't do the asteroids, are working with the shapeshifters, that's the first one. Now, as we all know, we are living in, we're always living in changing times. We have many transitions within the transition which we call life. And, there is so much shifting. As a collective, we have all chosen to be on this planet at this moment in time as part of the collective consciousness that is working with all of these shifts. As Maurice was just talking about with, the Jupiter and all the energy of these cycles, we have Jupiter in Cancer. And of course, we have Saturn, Neptune, Uranus, and Pluto all shifting gears. And I am hearing every day, as well as experiencing myself, how we are all allowing ourselves to maneuver these incredible times that we are living in. So certainly these outer planets, each and every one of them, we know that they are very significant as far as the society, the generation. I'm born in the mid-60s, where we have the Pluto-Uranus in Virgo generation. And certainly with the Uranus shift into Gemini, that is the very beginning of that square to that generation of people. So, we're born into a society that is experiencing, the outer planet requests for change. And then, of course, that generation is then carrying that energy forward as they grow. And for me, I'm a person-centered astrologer. I wanted to be a counseling astrologer. And as Maurice have said, we're all evolutionary astrologers. And so, of course, I'm going to want to bring forward to Bali some discussion around the collective consciousness, how we are experiencing exactly what is being offered to us right now. But I am going to focus a lot more on the personal aspects of the transits. And something I hear a lot is, the internet is a wonderful thing, but a lot of people get access to information, and there's still a lot of information out there that I feel can be very damaging and misleading. And so people have a concept that there's this terrible, awful transit that's about to happen to them, and the world is about to come to an end because of it. And for me, and this is not the Sagittarian optimism, not seeing life clearly, but for me, there are absolutely no bad transits. Every transit is perfect. And the reason every transit is perfect is because it was written into the soul contract that we signed up for, which is, of course, the other part of the other one of my talks. And we ask those planets to rock up exactly when and where they are supposed to. And something I often say to students is, if you were to go home right now and find your toilet was broken, you wouldn't call a carpenter, you'd call a plumber. And the gods work in the same way. If it's Saturn that's required to show up in a particular house and bring his toolbox, his gifts, to whatever piece of your soul psyche that is ready for the next level of growth, it is Saturn that will show up. And I suppose the thing with transits is, yes, do they make us uncomfortable? Do they take us out of our comfort zone? Do they get us to look at the shadow work, etc., etc.? And the answer is, of course, yes. And that is uncomfortable, and that can take us into the dark night of the soul, or, within ourselves in a way that we may not have experienced before. But our soul knew way before that this is just perfect. And I want to work with the charts of the people that are there, as well as having examples of just what a transit is. And I know that I'm sure everybody listening right now knows what a transit is, but I want to give a new innovative perspective and how we can work with that. And I just, as I said, I'm sorry that I haven't had more time to prepare, but I do have a couple of pictures. So with Uranus, in fact, I'm going to go back and say the one thing all these outer planets have in common is this word. They are all about the need for something to change. They are all unconscious planets. They all tap us into that vacuum sealed piece of the unconscious within the soul that we're now ready to allow a piece to be released. But with Uranus, the required radical revolutionary revolution, it's time to change. That's one thing Uranus certainly always offers us. We know at the moment Uranus has moved just into Gemini, but we also know that we have a personal contract with Uranus, which is more of what I will be focusing on in Bali. With Neptune, these are just images that for me speak volumes. And her heart finally told her to let it all go. And for me, Neptune is, of course, about so many roots and facets and glimmering, beautiful pieces that Neptune offers us. And I think by transit, and I'm not sure what Mark and Maurice feel about this, but I feel Neptune can be the most challenging in some ways, because it's a little bit like working with the invisible man or woman. You have no idea, just where he's going to appear. And Pluto and Uranus, for me, they are right there. You know where they are. Neptune is just a totally another realm. And so working with Neptune's energy by transit is something that, often challenges us as human beings, because what it asks us is not places that we sometimes want to go, just not knowing, just sitting in the boat and allowing yourself to float with absolutely no oars whatsoever. And you can get out of the boat when it eventually arrives at the land that you're meant to get off at. And that's not always such an easy thing for us to do as human beings, but it's certainly a requirement when we're dancing with Neptune. And of course, Pluto. And I love this image. And for me, it just makes such I'll allow the image to speak to you. But I guess when I look at that, it just, that there is total new life and generation when we face the darkness. So these are I want to really work with imagery and feeling as we move through understanding exactly not only what transits are on a new level, but how we can dance with them because we've invited them in. And so that's how I'm going to share my talk on transits. And my second presentation is going to be about working with the soul contract. So what did I sign up for? Of course, this is for me, the South Node, the nodal story, is like a fast running river or a beating pulse that just is continuously moving through our life, this lifetime. And I don't, often I read things or hear people saying, oh, you forget the South Node. And for me, you do not ever forget the South Node. It is a powerful force that symbolizes the feeling memory, the soul memory, the heart memory, which drives the experiences that we bring forward into this lifetime that we have not yet resolved, that we have not yet healed. But again, we know we're ready to confront this unresolved material through setting up exactly what we need to set up. And, thinking about that chart, Mark, that you shared earlier for Karen Carpenter, and what you shared about, well, this is part of what she was ready to work through in this lifetime, whether she got it all right, triple A's, or, made a C, it's not about that.
But who
And
knows?
so,
Exactly.
yeah, such a beautiful chart, very tender. But working with this soul contract and understanding, having this perspective of, why have I chosen this chart? And the minute I heard that line, and those of you again that know me know I've been fortunate enough to work with a lot of amazing teachers, and Stephen Forrest has been one of them. And a few years ago, I got invited to teach at the school there, which I absolutely love. And I've really more and more I work with charts and people. That question, when we're validated as to why have I chosen this chart, and we can really look into the heart and be seen and heard in a totally different way. It's like going to the movies and going to a 4D movie without glasses and with glasses. Like suddenly everything is seen in a whole new way. It's suddenly now 4-dimensional, not just 2. So what we also know is at some moment before we take residency in this physical form, we have that final meeting with our angels. And when we have that final meeting with our angels, we sign one of these, which is the terms and conditions that our soul has requested. And sometimes if I say this to a client, they say, why on earth would I have signed up for that? Well, this is what we're going to uncover, hopefully, in Bali as we explore your charts and other charts of well-known and not well-known people that I have great insight into, where we can really learn and integrate, our elevating our consciousness and understanding. Sometimes the simplest piece, can be just open the door of a whole new layer of experience and growth for us. So astrology is complex, but it does not have to be complicated. And simplicity can often be the most profound. So perhaps because of time, I might leave it there. But that's what I'll be presenting. And I think, listening to Mark, listening to Maurice, thank you, June. I feel like, even though we are all evolutionary astrologers, each of us will bring our own light, which then, creates a prism of beautiful light. And I think, thank you. I think it's really an opportunity not to be missed. And knowing Maurice and knowing Mark as I do, and I'm sure I don't need to tell any of you, these men walk their talk. They're amazing astrologers, and they're also incredibly amazing human beings. So it's wonderful for us to be there together and have an opportunity to connect to all of you, actually give someone a hug rather than, a high five on Zoom. So please, I'll just say once more, of course, if you contact Mark or Maurice, they'll forward the details to you. Or if you contact me, info@aquariusrising.net.au or the website aquariusrising.net.au. So I hope that we're going to see you there. It's going to be fantastic. Yeah. Mark, Maurice?
I noticed a few of my students are coming up. So yeah, guys, I've been talking about this for a while, only 2 months left. So love to meet you in person as well, because I don't get to meet many of my students in person because it's all online. And when I do, it's such a thrill, such a wonderful experience. So it'd be great.
It is a wonderful experience. And suddenly you go, are you that tall or are you that short? Or like I met somebody down in Melbourne when I went last month to give a presentation, and I've been working with this gentleman, and I told him about the meeting, and he came along, and he was so tall, and I was expecting him to be really short. So it was like, oh, but he was also, it was lovely to be able to see him. So lovely photo again.
And this will
Thank you,
be
Tanya.
this will be one opportunity to see me in a scourge.
Well, there you go. Now you
And
have to
Mark.
sign up.
And
Mark and Maurice in a skirt. What can I say?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
I have a partner that wears one of those every day in summer. He lives in one since I've known him when he was 18. So very normal for me. So,
Might
so
have something
thank
to
you.
tell you.
Pardon?
I said he might have something to tell you.
He might do.
Walking
you
around
know,
in a dress every day.
he does. Yeah, absolutely. Maybe I just haven't gotten the message. Oh dear. Thank you so much, everyone. I'm just trying to read some of the lovely comments. It's very humbling and very beautiful.
I've been on the chat, and Maurice just told me I'm just talking to you two. So I'm sorry, everybody, because I did answer a few questions.
Okay.
Yeah, no, that's my fault. Obviously, there's something going on between me and the chat, so all good.
Okay.
All good.
All right, everyone. Maurice, anything you'd like to add?
All good.
Okay.
Leap of faith. Leap of faith.
Leap of faith, absolutely. And we'll
love
see you in
that.
Bali.
What a great way to end. Yeah.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye, everybody.